Good morning, Stampers. Happy Friday. Welcome to this week's Facebook Live. Today we are going to be playing with the Dainty Flowers DSP, beautiful celebration DSP. But before we get started, let me just introduce myself. My name is Sherry Roth. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Sherwood Park, Alberta, and I go live every Friday at 9:30 a.m. Mountain Time with a fun crafty project. All right, so to kick off today's Facebook Live, I just wanted to share the project that we created last week. So I did this fun ready form technique using our masking paper. And you can always catch the replay on here on my Stamped Treasures Facebook page or even on my YouTube channel. I try to upload those videos to YouTube afterwards. And then if you comment, so if you participate in the conversation, so whether it's while I'm live or on the replay, or if you share my video, I appreciate all of that. And then I do a draw. So the lucky winner for this card is Judy Donley. So congratulations, Judy. I will pop this in the mail for you. All right, we'll set that aside. Okay, so we are smack dab in the middle of Celebration, which is our biggest annual promotion. And we have a little mini catalog full of free products that you can earn. And one of those free products is this beautiful Dainty Flowers DSP. This paper is stunning, and one of the things, well, there's several things that I like about it. Let me just share all. Do I have all six? Oh yeah, all 6 patterns here. So I love that one side is kind of florally. So there's these pretty kind of like dainty, it's more a dainty floral pattern. And this one, I mean, look at this. It's so pretty. So you can cut those apart and create 6 cards and then use the center bit. So this is the pattern that we're going to use today. And then we've got some patterns that are a little bit more kind of smaller patterns and geometric. We've got some more florals. We've got some florals that are not so colorful, that are just like solid colors. And then we've got just some polka dots. And then on the back side, we've got some great kind of watercolor type prints. And then again, some more florals or greenery. Here's another one of those. It's kind of like some greenery, but on a pink background. There's this fabulous border strip, which I can't wait to use on some cards and maybe even a scrapbook layout. And then look at this, like seriously, so nice. So this paper, is so versatile. So let me just share a couple projects with you. You've seen them before. I've shared them before. So here's one. This paper combines beautifully with so many different things. So there is a bundle that is meant to coordinate with it. It's called the Dainty Delight Bundle on page 55 of the January to April mini catalog. So it's got these similar kind of dainty floral images, some greetings in it, and then some coordinating dies. So that is available to purchase if you want something that coordinates nicely with it. But there's also lots of other things in the annual catalog and both the celebration brochure that work well with it. So here I chose to use one of the more simple, solid greenery patterns. And then I combined it with the Beautifully Happy celebration stamp set. So it will combine beautifully with lots of different floral stamps. But then the great thing is you can also go cutesy with it. Just use the back side, so the B side, and some of these watercolor images, some of these smaller geometric patterns, those work beautifully with some of your cutesy stamps as well. So it really is a very versatile DSP. Okay, so like I said, we're gonna use this one here today. And it's a very quick card that I'm sharing with you today. I've got a meeting, a virtual meeting at 10 o'clock. So we're gonna make it really quick and simple. All right, so this really is going to be the star of the show for this card. So I've gone ahead and I've cut this down. I'll have all the measurements in today's blog post, which you can find. It'll go live shortly after I'm finished here. So like I said, I'll have all the measurements in there. So I've cut this down so it's just slightly larger than that oval shape. That's going to get adhered to this piece of old olive. This is one of those patterns where you kind of hate to cover that, like both sides are amazing. All right. So we'll stick that on there so that we've got this nice narrow green around the edges, which this is Old Olive, which is one of the colors that coordinates with the DSP. And then I chose to combine it with something from the annual catalog. So there are several sets in the annual catalog that work really well. I wanted to give this image or this DSP a little bit more texture and dimension. So I pulled out my Meadow dies. So this coordinates with a stamp set in the annual catalog called the Quiet Meadow stamp set. And we're going to take this guy right here and we're going to die cut that. And we'll start with that and then I'll bring it back and show you what else. Okay, and I'm going to bring in my boho blue mini machine. Fabulous new opportunity to get this as part of a starter kit. So if you have a long wish list, starter kit is a great option. And there are 3 different starter kits that you can choose from during celebration. One of them is this boho blue mini machine, which is a peek at a new in color that will come out when the new in colors are released. So I'm just going to run that through and then we'll pop this out of the way. All right. And we'll poke this out. We can set these aside. And I have a little paper piercer here that I can poke this out. I've created lots of this card that I'm creating here because it was the card that I sent out to my team for their accomplishments in December. And it's also the card that I'm sending to new team members this month. So anybody who joins my team will get this card in the mail from me as a little welcome, along with a couple other things included in there. All right, so we've gone ahead and we've cut that. And I've also cut it from Crushed Curry. So the exact same image from Crushed Curry. And then I also took this die right here from the Meadow dies and I cut it from a piece of vellum. Okay, so we've got those 3 images that we're going to work with now. Now I wanted to give this a little bit more, I just wanted to give it a little something extra. So what I did was I took my pumpkin pie ink pad and a little finger dauber, and I want to add just a little bit of color to the center of these. And I should probably grab a scrap piece of paper here. All right. So I'm just going to take this and just very lightly add a little bit of color to the inside of each one of these floral images. And I'll bring it up and show you a little bit closer. So I apologize, I can't see your comments this morning. So I will go back and read the comments and answer any questions you may have afterwards. All right. So there's a little look. So it just adds a little bit of color, gives the flower a bit of dimension. Now we're going to cut it apart. So this one here, I'm going to separate the flower because I just want to use the flower. So I'm going to separate it here and then I'm going to come in here, separate it here. So wherever the stem meets the flower, I'm just trimming that off. Okay, and then these 2 flowers are joined. So I'm going to leave them so that they're still joined. We're going to bring in our green and we'll add just a little dot of multi-purpose glue in behind here. And then I'm just going to line it up and place it over top. So this is a great way to use your dies and give them a bit more dimension, add a little bit of color. I mean, of course, sometimes there's stamps that you can stamp first, but for this particular one, there is no stamp. So I thought that this was a great way, or for this particular die, there was no stamp. So I thought this would be a great way to kind of add a little bit of color and give it a bit of dimension. All right, now we're gonna take our multi-purpose glue and add just a little bit of adhesive in behind here. We're gonna add that on there. I'm gonna flip this over and I'm going to add just a couple dimensionals. Let's use a partial dimensional here. Peel off the backing. Okay, so we've got a couple dimensionals on there and our little flower moved here. And then I'm gonna put some flat adhesive on this bottom bit. So there's no reason why you can't combine two different types of adhesive, because I want this bit to pop up at the top, but I want it to be flat at the bottom. All right, so once that sets a little bit, I'm gonna give those flowers a little bit more dimension. Now what we're gonna do is, I have a scrap piece of white here somewhere. Here we go. Little scrap piece of white. Now for my team cards, what I did was I used the Something Fancy stamp set, which is also from the January to April mini catalog, and I used the word congratulations. But because those are all made and sent out, I wanted to do some welcome cards. So I looked in my stamp collection and I have this Happier Than Happy, which is from the annual catalog, and there's the word welcome in it. So I've combined this DSP with something that's a little bit different. So we're going to use the word welcome and some Memento ink. And we're just going to stamp it on a scrap piece of white. And then we're going to pull in some of this fabulous fine shimmer. So this is called, well, that's what it's called. It's called Fine Shimmer. This is from the January to April mini catalog, and it's part of the, what suite is it? Part of the Dainty something or other suite. And you get 3 colors in it. You get gold, you get soft succulent, and fresh freesia. And I don't know how well that shimmer is showing up, but this shimmer is beautiful and the paper is just so smooth. Like there's almost no texture to it at all. It is really pretty. It's one of my favorite shimmer papers we've ever had. So what I did was I cut a little strip of gold, and then I just slide this away, set it aside, and then I brought in another die set from the annual catalog, and this one I think is called Penned Flowers. I don't have my name up at the top here, but I used this scallop border, and so I cut that out from that fine shimmer. And this is gonna go kind of in behind like this, so that we just have that touch of gold showing. So I'm gonna use some multi-purpose glue and add this on here. Pick it up if I can. Here, there we go. All right, and we're gonna just attach it on here. I'm gonna cover over the stitching because really I just want it for the scallop and that little hint of gold. Now that's gonna take a minute to set. So while we're letting that set, we're gonna work on something else. So I wanna add a little bit more to my flowers. So I was looking through my embellishments and I couldn't find anything that would work, that felt just right. So what I decided to do was use these enamel dot essentials. So again, these are from the January to April mini catalog. And I'm gonna use the white ones, but I don't want them to be white. I want them to be brown. So I'm gonna take my dark soft suede marker, and I want 3 of them. These ones are a little bit big, so I'm not gonna use those. And I'm just going to color So that's one of the great things about our Stampin' Blends is if you don't have the right color of embellishment, you can make your own color. So we'll give that a minute to set. I'm gonna come in here and just use my paper piercing tool and just separate these to give it a bit more dimension, because remember, I only put adhesive in the middle of the flower. So this allows me to give it just a little bit more dimension. It allows it to kind of pop off the page. So I'm just separating that yellow from the green. And this is just a little subtle trick. It's not going to be super noticeable. And you know what? It will likely flatten when we put it in the envelope anyways, but it makes me feel better when I do things like that. All right, so I'm just going to pick this off and add that in there. And now we've got this beautiful brown center. Put this tiny one up here. All right. Okay. Now we've got this, we're gonna trim this down just a little bit. So I want there to be, let's do this full scallop, and then we're gonna cut this one at an angle. Okay, now we could just pop this on here, but if you know me at all, you know that I love me some twine. So we're gonna bring in some linen thread for kind of a little bit of a rustic touch of fiber, and I'm going to fold it in half and then tie it because I want a double bow. So just going to tie my bow, and then I'll trim the ends and adjust it as needed. Okay, so let's tweak this a little bit, try to make our loops kind of the same. And I love how it sits like this, how it's so kind of curly. I just love that. All right, to stick this on, we're going to use a mini glue dot. And we'll pop that right on here. Just like that. This piece is going to get a couple dimensionals, so we'll just use the ends or around the edges of these, and I'm going to put it on either end of this greeting because it will sit over top of that knot. Okay, and I'm going to line this up with the edge of my DSP. And look how pretty that is. Now we need to add it to our card base. I'm going to use a piece of Pear Pizzazz, which is a color I don't know. I don't use it very often. It's a nice green. It's not my favorite green, but it does work well with the colors that are in this DSP. And I'm thinking that, like, I don't know anything more than you guys, but I'm thinking there's going to be a color refresh this year. Who else agrees with me? And I'm thinking Pear Pizzazz might be one of those colors that goes. You just don't see it in DSP very often, and I don't know, you just don't see it around. So Pear Pizzazz could be one of those ones that goes. And then we've got a piece of white for the inside, so you could always use like some of that green. Some of this green, you could cut a strip of that and add that to the top of your piece on the inside. But we're just going to leave this one plain. Pop that in there like that. You could also decorate your envelope flap. You could go to town with this DSP. And there we've got a beautiful card created primarily with the DSP with just a few little dies that are added to it to give it a bit of dimension. All right, so let me pull in those other two so you can see those other two cards that were created with this DSP, just so you can see kind of the versatility and just how much potential it has. I'm sure you've got a ton of stamp sets in your collection or even die sets that would work with this beautiful patterned paper. And it's free with a $60 purchase until, well, while supplies last, or until the end of February. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching. Before I head out, I just wanted to pop in, or just remind you that the mini clipboard album class to go registration closes on Sunday. So you still have a couple days left to register. And in class, we're going to create this beautiful, fun mini clipboard album. So it's got a bunch of little pages where you can do 10 things I love, or 10 things I love about you, or you can make it whatever you want. And even though I did it love themed, this is an idea that you can use over and over and over with different pattern papers for different occasions. And it just looks so cute and chunky sitting on a little stand on display. So I hope you decide to participate. I will post a link. If I can go back and edit this, I will go ahead and post a link, but you can always check the events page for more information. All right. Hope you guys have a fabulous weekend. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next week.